Okay, so hello and welcome to South Hills Community Wellness. My name is Jacqueline Battaglia.
And I'm Laura Vlasic.
Our goal and mission is to provide a place that people could go to gain access to knowledge from people in their own community, to create balance in their lives, a place that people could turn to learn, connect, and collaborate on a variety of personal development, health, and wellness topics. Welcome to the new members. We do have a disclaimer. We have a mutual agreement between our speakers and our members that these workshops are strictly to share knowledge, value, and to connect with like-minded people. South Hills Community Wellness does not agree or disagree with the content presented, nor are we promoting a service or a product. These Zoom conferences will be recorded. Therefore, if you would like to remain anonymous, you have the option to disconnect your camera and or audio on the control panel by your name. Tonight, we are pleased to welcome Patty Sloan. Patty is a transformational coach and speaker who supports individuals in creating the positive change needed to live the empowered life that they deserve. With practical, no-nonsense advice and life strategies, she provides tangible results and the skills to help push you through your everyday challenges, overcome your daily struggles, and release the blocks that keep you from living confidently. Patty will be presenting tonight on intentional habits, how to create positive change this evening. So welcome, Patty.
Hi, thank you, Jacqueline, so much, and thank you all for joining. I know that time is such a valuable resource to us all, so the fact that you're willing to be here with me in the next couple 45 minutes to an hour or so really means a lot to me. So thank you, and thank you for having me back. This is such a fun group, so I'm really excited to be a part of it. As Jacqueline said, that tonight we're going to be talking about intentions. If you were with the group a couple weeks ago, you know that I had spoke on clarity. So when we were kind of coming up with an idea for tonight, I thought it makes complete sense to kind of move into the next step after clarity work, which is setting intentions. So I'm going to take about 20-25 minutes, kind of go through a basic outline of how to create intention in your life, the intention that you need for positive change. We can go deep into any one of these topics in the future, but then they'll give us enough time if you have any specific questions at the end of this. So let's dive in. Let's dive into what is intention. So an intention is an idea that you plan to carry out that has meaning for you. It's just an idea. It is your goal. It is your purpose. It is your aim. Your intention needs to be pure. Your intention needs to be in alignment with what it is that you desire in your life. So if it's just positive change, whatever that goal is, it needs to be in alignment with who you are. Lasting change begins by defining what matters to you. So like I said, by doing clarity work, you should have a pretty good idea as to who you are, what you want out of life. So now we can set the intention to move you into setting those goals and achieving those goals. That's kind of what you want to do at the end of this. And intentions are important, right? They're the starting point for all of your dreams, whatever your goals, dreams, aims, purpose, whatever you want to call that. I'm going to probably use the word goals for the most part. But it's all, just interchangeable words depending on where you're coming from. And everything that happens in your life starts with an intention. If you think about it, from the minute you get out of bed, you set the intention as to what time you're going to get up. You set the intention as to what your morning routine is going to be for that day. Your intention of how you interact with your spouse or your children, how you're going to show up in your day, at your workspace, at the gym, at the grocery store. Everything comes from an intention. You may not be aware of what the intention is. It can be on a subconscious level. And a lot of the work I do is trying to create more awareness around the decisions, choices, and intentions that you put into your life. But a lot of what you do becomes more routine and you're not really intentional about it. But everything, if you think about it, starts with an intention. So to me, it makes natural sense that this is the next step after figuring out who you are and what you want out of the world. Well, now let's get chugging. Let's start creating that change that you really desire. So that's kind of in a nutshell what intention is. It's not wishful thinking, it's willful doing. And by being the doer, we'll talk about action in a couple steps here, but that's the difference. It's taking An intention right now is just an idea, right? It's just something that you want to do. So how do we take it from being just what we want to do into something that you can wrap your hands on, right? That there's actually some goals and some meaningful steps to get you to where you want to be. So you have your intention now. So you're clear, you have your intention. And there are 3 questions that I would love for you to ask yourself when you're thinking about your intention. And your intention can be small or it can be large. Wherever it fits on the scale here, these are 3 questions you need to ask yourself in the beginning of setting an intention. So the first thing is why? Why is this goal important to you? Everybody inside of them has a why. If you're familiar with Simon Sinek, I don't know how many of you guys here or watching this have read the book, Find Your Why. I think it's an amazing book because we all have a purpose inside of us. That's innately who we are. And everybody sets out to discover it. But it's in you. It's just a matter of uncovering it. And what I also love about your why is that it's always with you. It just changes. You know, my why is still the same, even when I was raising children. And it's the same now creating a business, and it'll be the same going forward. It's just how it shows up in your life. And again, that's a future discussion, but you want to know why. You want to know why this goal is so important to you. The second thing you want to know is what would it mean for you to get what you wanted through this goal? What would that mean to you? And the third thing you want to ask yourself is, how would it make you feel? How would it make you feel to achieve this goal? So say your goal is to run a marathon. What would that feel like? Visualize it. I am a big, big proponent of journaling. I love it. I have a journal. If you follow me at all, my logo is a peacock. So I have several of these because it's just inspirational for me. So I'm a journalist by trade. I love the written word. So to physically write out what I think and feel and my questions, these prompts, really gets it very clear, gets it on paper. If you are not one that likes to journal, that's fine. You can sit at your computer. You can sit and just type what's coming up. You can do voice memos on your phone if you don't either want to sit at your computer or, you know, physically write something. But this is more than just saying, oh, I want this goal because. What I'm asking you to do is dive deep, because if you don't know your why, if you're not 100% clear on why you want this, how you want to achieve it, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. You're not going to achieve exactly what it is you want. So when you get, again, crystal clear on your why, what is it that you want out of this and how is it going to make you feel, it sets the foundation for the next couple steps, if that makes sense. So you're clear now. You have you've done your clarity work. You have your intention, and now you have your 3 questions. So you kind of know why this goal is so important for you. So what's the next step? This is where the intention now becomes reality. So it's about setting a plan, right? So there are 5 steps in setting the plan. And again, we could spend a lot of time, and I typically do with my clients, going step by step through this. But for tonight, for this quick live, let's talk about the 5 steps. So the first step in the plan of getting your intention to reality is setting your goal. What is the actual goal? Being very crystal clear. So if it is, I want to run a marathon, period. Can we make it clearer? I want to run a marathon in 2 hours and 30 minutes. I want to run a marathon of women only. You know, get as clear on that end goal. We're talking about the end result goal that you want to achieve. Because the second part of it is you're going to set mini goals within that plan to work along the way. So you have your big goal, and then you're going to reverse engineer how that's going to happen, because now you have a starting point and an ending point. And it's the in-between that I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with, or they're not sure how to achieve. So you reverse engineer, you kind of go backwards to from the end to the beginning. And there's a process to that. But the second part of that is setting mini goals within that. So a mini goal, for example, and I'll use a marathon one just because that's a simple one to illustrate with, is a mini goal might be, okay, I want to run a 5K as practice. So 5K might be in 3 months, I want to do my first 5K, which is I think it's a little over 3 miles. So that could be a mini goal that you will set in achieving your ultimate bigger goal. The third thing is determine what needs to happen for you to reach your goals. A lot of people kind of don't think about this. They just say, oh, I want to run a marathon. I'm going to get new shoes. I'm going to get some new clothes. There's this marathon in Boston or in Pittsburgh, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. But they don't determine what needs to happen in between there. So this is a big, important step. What is it? Where's your support system? Determine, do you need someone to help you? Can you do it by yourself? What are the tools that you may need or not need to achieve this goal? You know, there's so many variables here because it all depends on your goal, but that's an important part of this planning process, is determining what needs to happen to reach your goal. The fourth part is what actions are required to reach your goals. So that's a little different than determining. So when you're talking about even the marathon, what action am I going to need to take to actually achieve running a marathon? And lay them out in just a step-by-step, or just ideas that you think it's going to take. Like I said, getting new shoes, getting better running outfits, finding a coach. Maybe, you need someone who's going to train with you, finding a location I'm going to train in. Can you train in this area versus somewhere else? Get, again, as specific as you can. The more specific that you can be in the planning phase, the more likely you are going to be successful in achieving whatever it is that you want. So set the main goal, set some mini goals, determine what needs to happen to reach those goals, what actions need to happen in order to reach those goals. And then the big part, schedule them. You're going to schedule them on a daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly basis, depending on, again, the scope of the goal that you have. And I'll talk about why this part is so important. A lot of people, again, will say, oh, I'm just going to go and do something. And it's not on paper. It's nowhere. It's just in their mind. And if you're like me and my mind, things don't always stay in the mind, especially at my age. So I tend to write everything down. I have old school. I have an old school calendar. I do very little on my phone because I want to see it. I want to see my month in advance, if that makes sense. So hopefully we're following along. I know I'm going a little quick again because there's so much to go in here, but I want to make sure we have enough time. So you have your clarity work done. You have your intention. You know what the intention is. You know your why. Now you have 5 steps to set up your plan on how to achieve that. And this to me is a critical part too, because once you see it laid out, when it's kind of all encompassed, whether it's on a piece of paper, in your calendar, however you like to work. Everybody has, their way of doing things. This is, like I said, mine. I love to see my calendar in front of me at one time. It kind of makes it real. You want to take ownership of it. It's like, look, I have it. It's no longer just an idea that's in my brain. I now physically can see what I need to do. And that's why this step is important, because a lot of people don't make it to this part. They kind of get lost in just the idea and the overwhelm of thinking about what their ultimate goal or desire might be. So when you're creating change and positive change, because if this is a goal, if this is something that is so meaningful for you, it's going to be a positive change. So to me, it's worth the effort and the time to sit and plan this out. And some of these steps, if it's a small goal, maybe it's something as simple as cleaning out your closet. But you can still set some action steps towards making that achievable. I know some people, maybe the closet isn't a small task. To me, that's a small task, but probably depends on your closets. But you get what I'm talking about. It's not something as big as, creating an empire, if that's what you want, a new business, or, saving money for a vacation to Europe, or what, maybe some of those bigger ultimate goals are. So those are the first 3 steps. The next step, now you have the plan, and why now an intention becomes more than just an idea, is the action part. This is the willful doing. Because again, even on paper and the plan looks great, but if you're not taking any action towards moving your intention to fruition, then that's all it is. It's just an intention. I don't know if you've ever heard about, that phrase, oh, they had good intentions. Well, good intentions doesn't get the needle moved. So it's good to have them, but you need the action. You need the plan and then the actions to get them moving ahead. So what is the action steps? Again, it's all dependent on what your goal is, but there's a few things. There's at least 5 things that I came up with that I think every person needs to think about when they're planning their action steps towards their intention. And the first thing is to break the goal down into repetitive tasks. If it's a big enough goal, again, even with something as simple as your closet, you can break it down into smaller tasks, but you want to break your goal down into smaller repetitive tasks. And what do I mean by that? That means that you're going to take consistent action on your intention, on your goal, on a daily basis. You're going to need to build daily habits that are going to work towards that goal. There are countless small decisions that you will make on a regular basis that are more important than these big, overwhelming, leaping things that you will do in your goals, if that makes sense. So again, with the marathon thing, maybe your big initial thing is, ooh, I got a brand new pair of shoes, and I have this coach that I hired who's going to train me on how to do this, and I have cute little Nike outfits and what have you. But after that, it's about showing up every day and doing what is required to do. It's getting out of bed when you don't feel like it. And, maybe the first day it's running a mile. And maybe it's 1.25 miles the next week. It's these little incremental habits, these consistent habits on a regular basis that will move you towards your goal. And they are imperative. Consistency will always get you where you want to go. So taking consistent action towards your goal, creating daily habits, is part of your action plan. Again, countless small decisions will move the needle more than just these big, big moves. The 4th thing is eliminate excuses. Okay, you're always going to find an excuse as to why you either didn't stick to the plan, or that something came up. I'm too tired. I don't have enough money. You will always find a reason if that's what you're looking for. And if you find that you've done this in the past, that you've set an intention, I would question, maybe in your journaling, did you find excuses? Because if you're finding more excuses as to why not to do it, then it's not a clear, defined goal or intention, and you really shouldn't be trying to go for it until you understand why you're creating these excuses in terms of getting to it. So eliminate the excuses. Just make it an intention from the get-go that you will not use excuses not to follow your dream. These are your dreams. This is what you are desiring to do in your life. So it needs to be really important. And don't wait for the perfect moment. I don't know about you. I used to do this, in my younger days. It was, when I have enough money, or when I have enough time, or when I'm married, or when I'm this, or when this happens. And the perfect moment just doesn't exist. That to me is part of the excuse system. The best time to start any intention is now. You will never get moving until you just start moving, if that makes sense. I used to inevitably, whenever I had a big intention started, the first thing I would always do, and I realized it was just really avoidance, was I would clean my whole house. And not just clean it, like I would detail my house. So it would take me 4 or 5 days to clean every little nook and cranny and get into the crux of things. And I realized it was just avoidance, that it was really fear on my part that was stopping me from starting my intention. I was so afraid, even though I really wanted it, it was fear that was stopping me. So in journaling and working through and learning the things I've learned over the number of years in doing this work, it's okay to be afraid, but just start. And starting now is the best time ever. So don't wait for the perfect moment. I've also heard it said, particularly with this coronavirus going on, that a lot of people were like, ooh, I'm at home, I'm going to have so much time to do the things that I never had time to do before. So maybe it is cleaning out a closet or sweeping out your garage or cleaning the pantry out, whatever it was, and they're not doing it 6 weeks into this, and they haven't done it, because the reality was that they had the time, they just didn't want to do it. And you just have to kind of own that. So you have to be really honest about yourself when you're doing intentional work. You're not fooling anybody, it's just you. These intentions, these goals, these dreams, they're yours, and nobody will love them and own them and desire them as much as you. So you need to make sure that they are what you want, not what anybody else wants. And I'm going to probably say that a couple times, because that, to me, at the end of the day, is, it doesn't matter if someone thinks you should do it or not do it. It's, what do you want? And be real. If it's just something that you've always said you wanted to do but can't figure out why, you can't figure out what the visual of how that's going to feel like when you do achieve it, then maybe it's not really an intention, and maybe it's time to let it go. And it's okay. It's okay to change that. My intention, even a week ago is different than what it was here. Definitely 2 years ago was different than what it is now. So it's an ever morphing, ever evolving process. But if you can be upfront and honest with yourself, then it's going to make the process that much easier. So the action is the big shift here. Again, intentions are wonderful. We can dream, we can have these big ideas, but until you set the plan and then actually move on the plan, they're never going to be anything more than these big, grandiose ideas. So action is the big shift here. Make sure it happens, and do everything in your power to make sure it happens. Eliminate blocks. Make sure you have a support system. If you don't have a support system, get one. If you need a spouse to support you, explain to them why it's important that they support you. But at the end of the day, it's you. It's you against you, and you against the dream, and you just need to go for it. And you won't regret doing that. So that's the action part of it. The last part, and then we can get into some questions, like I said, we did it, was the follow through. Because again, you've done all this planning, you've done the action steps, but you need to be able to measure what you're doing, right? So there is follow through. Again, the follow through, number one, again, no excuses. No excuses, no excuses. Setting boundaries is another big thing in the follow through. If you've never set boundaries or learned how to set boundaries in your life, this is some work that you probably need to do. Because again, this dream, this goal, this desire that you have is yours, and no one is going to own it like you do. So you may find that, especially if you're looking for some significant changes in your life, there are people that may not understand that. And not that they're going to intentionally sabotage you, but because they're not invested like you are, they're more apt to pull you away from it. But if you have clear, defined boundaries, and you understand that nothing is going to change those boundaries, then the people who are in your life or in your inner circle who are supporting you will understand that, and they'll respect that. They'll only respect your boundaries if you have them and if you honor your own boundaries. That doesn't mean you can't be flexible. This isn't a rigid plan. But what I'm saying is, if you're training, for example, with the marathon idea, and you have to eat a specific way, and you have to run so many days a week, but your girlfriends are like, hey, we used to go out 3 days a week, and now you're only available once. Well, that's up to you. If they try and pull you away the other 2 days instead of you training, well, which is more important? You're training for the marathon because that's your ultimate goal, or is it to pacify your friends because they're not understanding how important this is to you? So setting boundaries in this work is really, really imperative. Work on it consistently. and regularly. Again, everyday habits, little habits, every day, consistency, consistency, consistency. And anything that you do will always move the needle. Also then celebrate those little mini goals. The reason I put them in the plan is because when you're in the middle of working through something pretty significant in your life, you sometimes forget all the strides that you have made because you're kind of right here. You forget, like again with the example with the marathon, maybe you started, you could barely run a mile, and within a month you're already running 2.5, and then 3 months from now you're running 5. Well, you forget how hard it was to start at 1 mile, and now you're at 5. So let's celebrate that. Let's say, hey, in 3 months I hit my 5-mile mark. Celebrate it. Let's make it a big deal, because it is. And when you have these little celebrations along the way, it kind of breaks up this enormous goal, and it gives you momentum. It gives you the energy to say, I did it this much, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. Kind of like the Energizer Bunny. I got this. I can do this. It's just a chance to take a breath and say, I'm on this and I got this. So I believe setting time aside to evaluate where you are and to celebrate where you are is really an important part of the follow through. So, again, simply start. Now is the perfect time to start anything that you want. Even if you don't have all the information, you will never have all the information. So even when we're talking about a long range plan, you won't have the whole plan in front of you. You'll have parts of the plan, and then you'll start. And as you start, what you'll understand is that you're going to have setbacks. You're going to have failures. So you might have 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And that's part of the process. The process is where the juice is. The process is where the change comes. It's not necessarily about reaching the end goal. It's the process of getting there and what you learn during that process. And if you're involved in that, if you're understanding that, yep, I'm in the process, and all of a sudden, you're training and you twist an ankle. Well, now it's going to take 3 weeks and set you back 3 weeks. Well, it's not necessarily a failure. It's just part of what happens. Okay, well then take your 3 weeks, heal yourself, and then start again. It's just a chance for, the universe or you to evaluate and say, nope, that wasn't the right path. I thought it was going to be this, but this showed up and now I need to go here. So failures, your evaluations, those are all part of the process. The celebrations are part of the process. And to me, again, being patient in that process and really experiencing what I'm going through in the process is what gives me the energy, which lights me up, which says, okay, I know I'm going to reach that goal because that's my intention. But boy, what I am learning and who I am meeting and what's going on in the evolution of the process of getting to that goal, to me is the best part of doing intentional work and goal setting and dreaming big. So be patient. So your intention then will take effort, it'll take determination, and it will take action. But ultimately, and the last thing I'm going to encourage you, it will take self-belief. You have to believe at the core of who you are that you are able to do this, that there is nothing that's going to come your way that you can't get through it. Maybe it's not understanding, even doing a meeting like this. I've done Zoom meetings, but not in this context. So I learned something tonight and I love it. I am not a techie person, but in learning to do online business, I've had to learn. So I'm a big YouTube person. I have tech people in my life that I kind of inquire with. If not, I just kind of play around and I figure it out. Does it take me twice as long sometimes to do things? Yep. But at the end of the day, I figure it out. And I'm very proud of myself because I think, wow, that's something that I didn't know. And it makes, again, the process of learning how to do this exciting for me. So I believe that no matter what I set my mind to, I'm going to achieve it. It's not always easy. I'm not going to pretend that it's all, unicorns and rainbows, depending on what your goal is. There can be some obstacles. There can be some setbacks. But never, ever forget why your intention is important to you. And so long as that is always in the forefront of your mind, that's why writing it in your journal, writing it and putting it on a piece of paper, putting it where you can see it on a regular basis. I've had mentors tell me, you can put it on your mirror in your bathroom, what it is that you want to achieve. So when you go in there to brush your teeth or wash your face in the morning, you see it and you're reminded of it. And you're like, yeah, that's why I did this. And when you get to the other side, when you achieve what it is that you wanted to achieve, there's no other feeling. And I know that all of you watching have had those moments in your life. So it's not a hard process in terms of figuring it out, depending on what you want to do. It might be a little bit challenging, but isn't that, to me, the fun part of life? If everything was easy, if everybody could train for a marathon, they would do it. Running a marathon is really difficult. We had a gentleman on our street this week, and I'll wrap up with this. Is he does weekly marathons, and he's been training because he wanted to do what's called an ultra marathon and run 100 miles. And he was supposed to do down in South Carolina, and of course the event, given the current conditions, was canceled. But he'd been training, and he's like, I'm just going to change the plan. So I live on a dead-end cul-de-sac, and if you do one complete loop around my cul-de-sac, it's 1 mile. So he set out and did an ultra marathon in our cul-de-sac, running 1 mile at a time. The entire neighborhood came out, was cheering him on. He ran through the night. He set his plan. We had people, including myself, we'd get up at 2 a.m. to cheer him on. He's out there with his headlamp on. It was such an inspiration to watch this guy finish this up because he was determined. He set this goal, and even though it wasn't where it needed to be in this gorgeous place in South Carolina, he wasn't going to give it up. And that inspires me. I think, yep, that's what setting an intention and going for it. And just the positivity that came out of it. The news, there was a WTAE showed up and filmed it and put it on. He was raising money for his wife's cancer organization. And I just thought, wow, it almost turned out better than had he gone to South Carolina, because there was so much more that came out of that. So again, you just never know where your journey may take you, where your intentional path, plan, action steps may take you, but ultimately you'll get where you want to be. So that's it. That's kind of intention setting, how to create positive changes in your life in a nutshell, in a condensed version. So if there's any questions, even about some of the clarity work, if you watch that, I can certainly answer anything, because they kind of go hand in hand together. So I'm opening it up for questions.
First of all, was it Matt Scaletti?
Yes, Matt?
He was our first speaker.
Okay, yes. So yeah, so his determination. It was just so great. He's such a great guy. So yes, it was Matt, of course. Yes.
That's awesome.
So are there any questions? Or
I just want to thank you, because you're positive and you're passionate, and it was definitely worth listening to you. So thank you.
Sure, thank you. Thank you.
Patty, I have a question.
Yes.
What was the name of the book you referenced early on? It was called Find Your Why, but who was it by?
It's by Simon Sinek, Sinek. And he's written multiple books, but that was kind of his first. And I found it to be really helpful in determining that. A lot of people get stuck, I think, on, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? That's kind of at least in the work I've done. And like I said, it's already inside of you. If you think about the things that you're passionate about, what really drive you, that's probably your purpose. Mine has always been to help people. And like I said, different stages in my life, I wasn't always obviously a coach. That evolved out of that purpose, but certainly loved helping, raise my children, helping my spouse, achieve his goals, whatever it is, my purpose underlying at the core of who I is always there. So I found that book to be, and Simon in general, he's just a really good, I really enjoy him and his work. So.
Yeah, it seems like your purpose could change over your lifetime, though. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. But the core, like I said, mine is definitely helping people. So how does the purpose in helping people show up? Like I said, I haven't been a coach, that came later in life, but the idea of always helping and being there for people and seeing people be the best version of themselves has always been intertwined in the work that I have done, whether it was in the corporate world, being a stay-at-home mom. I developed my own business, cleaning business. So even there, I was helping people in a different way. And now I'm doing this. So I totally agree with you, Lori, but the
Okay.
core element, and that's what Simon will teach you,
Mhm.
is there. You just have to figure that out and then see how it shows up in your world.
Okay, good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
That is so funny that you said that, because me and Amos were talking about like who we are and our purpose in life, and like I was like, I am not a helpful person. Like if I walk into it, like I just don't know how to really be helpful. Like whereas he's very helpful, like he knows where to jump in and how to be helpful. But I was like, I want to be more of a helpful person, but I said I'm more of like, I think like connection, and I really like when people are like happy, and like that's kind of always been my thing. And so it's kind of funny to know like not like your purpose in your place, and that's okay that maybe I walk into a kitchen and I cause more of a mess than I help, like you know what I mean, and maybe I know when to step back and that I'm not the most helpful person, but I think it is important to know like who you are and be comfortable with that and not try to be somebody else. And so a question that I wrote down while you were talking, because like a lot of these things like goal setting, I think like a lot of us have heard, right? And I like really wonder to myself, like why more people don't attain their goals. Because I think the concepts they're not easy to do, but I think that we understand them, most of us. But I think like you really hit the nail on the head when you said like enjoying the process. I guess like when I was in high school or like you're 18, you have to like kind of see a map and go like, this is what I want to do. And it's a means to an end. Like you go to college, you get a 4-year degree, you get this job. And then I think a lot of us go like, well, is that really like what fits me? And so like, I think that it was always like a means to an end for me. And when I really just said like, nope, I'm going to be myself and I'm going to enjoy everything and enjoy the process. And I do care where I end up, but it's different. It's not like a job or a this or like a so sad. It's like, I really do just want peace and calmness, and I want to enjoy what I'm doing. And so like that has changed everything for me. And so you have just said so many things tonight that really hit home with me. So thank you. I wrote like 10 pages of notes down.
Well, thank you. And yes, I don't know that this will ever come out of my work, but I'm sure somewhere down the road somebody will do this. I think that we do owe it to younger kids, whether middle school, maybe late middle school, high school, to teach them some of this mindset, work, because a lot of us learn it later in life, and it's through your experiences. Certainly, my experiences, particularly over the last 5 years, have got me where I am now, like made the purpose that I kind of knew very defined. But we, as you said, Jacqueline, that everybody's heard, set the goals, but nobody teaches you what that actually looks like. They just say, set a goal. Well, it's not like you just set a goal. And the other thing is too, is you're not sure. You're not sure of who you are. We try so hard, I think, to fit in to match what society said we should be, or what our parents said we should be. A lot of my work personally has been unlearning what they taught me, because it didn't serve me, and I wasn't understanding why I wasn't at peace or experiencing joy or happiness or contentment in my life. And it took a long time for me to unravel that. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, because I think, gosh, if I can reach one person and shift that for them and help them understand this is not rocket science. I've never said that what I do is, really hard. But it's hard in the sense that people don't know how to do it. people, it's kind of a new thing for them to sit and say, I'm okay with being a connector. So Jacqueline, you are a connector. You're not a helper. And there's nothing wrong with that. You've accepted that about yourself. I say that all the time. I'm like, I'm a great baker, but I hate to cook. I am not a good cook, and I have no desire to learn how to be a good cook, for example. So, my family doesn't starve to death, but boy, if you ask me to bake, I'm putting love and intention into the baking because that's what I'm passionate about. So, I think we need to learn, and that work I did in the beginning, that clarity to understand who are you and accepting who you are as the foundation of all the rest of the work. Because when you know that, then to me, other things, it just creates such clarity and direction in your life. And again, different, as Lori said, it's different purposes for different phases of your life. But I think now, boy, I would have been a different mom back, in the day than I would be now, knowing what I know now. But I know, Jackie, when you and I were talking, I said, but you don't know what you don't know when you don't know it. So my plan is just to reach as many people as I can and spread the message and say, listen, you can get this. It's not very hard, but you have to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to be willing to show up, be truthful with yourself, honest with yourself. I'm never going to be, I'm 5'2". I'm never going to be a Victoria's Secret runway model. Not that that's a desire, but that's the reality. It's a truth, and that's okay. And be okay with that. And I think we as women need to empower each other and say, it's okay. It's okay not to be the perfect mom, the perfect baker, the perfect wife. Making a mess in the kitchen is fine. Help clean up if that's what you want to do. But you're doing your purpose by creating groups like this. I'm sure, the more people I see that keep joining the group, that connection, I just think that is amazing. And I'm not so apt to do that, but I'll join in, but I'm not the ones that are going to start it. So yeah, knowing what your purpose is and knowing where you want to go is, to me, huge. And it changes here. And that's probably part that I didn't say is it's okay to change it too. As you grow and evolve. And it's really not growing, you're just becoming more aware. So I'm more aware of who I am now than I was a year ago, 2 years ago. I use the experiences in my life. I've shared, I think with Jacqueline that, last year I battled cancer. So I'm only 8 months out of treatment, and I had launched my business 2 weeks before that, before I got diagnosed. And it was just like, what? I was already all in, had my plan, had my goals, knew what I was doing. And then it was like, nope, there was something else that needed to come through that journey. And the shifts and things that came out of that are amazing that I'm bringing into my work now. So again, that flexibility that I knew who I was during that process. I understood I had done the work, so I could, I don't want to say roll with it, but I could glean from that experience what I needed to be able to again create the work that I'm doing now. So it's a wonderful process. Intention and positive change. It's a wonderful process to go through. Are there any other questions? Anything else I can clarify? I so appreciate you guys coming on. I really do. This is so much fun for me.
And we appreciate you. Everything you said, and sometimes it just takes someone saying it a certain way for you to go, wow, that makes so much sense. And yeah, like with your piece on awareness and just, the excuse system, I think that really hit home too. So thank you so much.
You are welcome. You are welcome. Anytime. And if you think of a question afterwards, send it through Messenger or what have you. I'm available, to talk to you individually or whatever. If there's a specific question you don't want to talk about on here about a goal or clarity work or what have you, I'm available. So
and we'll put your contact information in the YouTube video, like in the comments and also in our group, so that people can get a hold of you, if that's okay.
Absolutely. It's not a once and done. I'm available for whatever anybody needs me for. So thank you for the opportunity to talk to you guys. I really sincerely appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining. Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Love you.
Yeah. Bye. Love you. See ya.
See ya.
Patty.
Yes.
Hey. Oh,
Hey.
hope I didn't like say like what I didn't mean like what you said goal setting was. Do you know, did I say that right? Just like I think that so many people say like, oh, I know how to set goals, and then nobody achieves them, you know? I think we overuse that word like goal setting, but there's so many layers underneath of that. It's like when you really get in there, it's like there's so much more to it. I think sometimes we do just like pick a goal and then like we don't achieve it and then we feel bad about ourselves, and it's
Right.
crazy.
It's, you know, Tony Robbins talks about that, the infinity loop, and it's really, you know, you do it on, it's almost like you do it on purpose.
Huh.
So,
I haven't heard him say that.
oh yeah, it's an intent, like, I'm sure have you heard him talk about the infinity loop? So
No.
okay, so you ride high, you know, like you set your intentions, you know, oh, I'm going to set my goal.